Hello, loves. Happy 100-year anniversary of Black History Month, and let's celebrate with Did You Know? Did you know? Let's talk about Amy Ashwood Garvey. She was an activist for African independence and the rights of African women. She was the first wife of Marcus Garvey, a leader of the United Negro Improvement Association. The UNIA is the largest African American and Pan-African movement of all time. In 1922, she risked her life by stepping in front of a would-be assassin's bullet intended for her husband, Marcus Garvey. She served as a director for the Black Star Line Shipping Company. She established the UNIA Ladies Auxiliary, as well as its newspaper, The Negro World. She owned a jazz club and produced shows where other activists would gather to discuss Pan-Africanism. In 1958, she co-founded the Association of the Advancement for Colored People. Let's talk about Audre Lorde. She's a poet, a feminist, a womanist, and civil rights activist. She learned to use poems to express her feelings, a result of her having problems communicating as a child. During the 1950s and 60s, she worked as a professor. She furthered her self-acceptance as a lesbian woman, influenced students to think more deeply. She empowered African women who were living in Europe to become more conscious. Through an Afro-German movement she started in Berlin. The poetic work written by Lorde dealt with personal issues, feminism, civil rights, and Black female individuality. Now let's talk about Amy Jacques Garvey. She was a pioneering journalist, a publisher, and advocate for the improvement of African American lives through Black nationalism. She was born in an interracial upper-class family in Jamaica. She was the second wife to Marcus Garvey, who was the leader of the United Negro Improvement Association, the UNIA, the largest African American and Pan-African movement of all time. Published 2 books of her husband's writing and was the editor of the Negro World. She continued her husband's work after he went to prison, speaking nationally on the importance of Black nationalism, separation from European society, and African independence. Now let's talk about Bell Hooks. She was a writer, educator, social critic, and essayist. Her works and passion for solving problems of racism in the U.S. were influenced by her experience growing up in segregated schools. She began writing, reciting, and publishing poetry early on under her real name, Gloria Jean Watkins. She took on the pen name Bell Hooks after her grandmother, Belle Blair Hooks. In 1970, she moved away from writing poetry and focused on the critical essays of systems of domination. She published her first book, Ain't I a Woman?, which was a feminist discussion on racism and sexism. She taught at Yale and several other colleges. She earned her doctorate in English literature in the 1970s. In her life, she continued to be a voice for educational reform and the ability for students to engage in rigorous study and to think critically. Now let's talk about redlining. It's a practice of marking a red line on a map to delineate an area. Where banks would not make loans, most frequently discriminated areas, or Black inner-city neighborhoods. The term redlining was coined in the late 1960s by John McKnight. He was a sociologist and community activist. It refers to denial of services, selectively raise prices to residents of a certain area based on racial or ethnic position of those areas. Banks would often lend to lower-income whites, but not middle or upper-income Blacks. Redlining today is illegal. It is a component of the Civil Rights Act of 1968. It speaks against the racial and geographical discrimination.